For 6 years, the mandate or the way we manage people were always putting a people first approach. But the pendulum on management, the way that we normally decide what is more important in terms of priorities, in terms of agenda, it's again changing. And we see that coming from many different research and studies. I will start to give you some perspective on what happened recently. If you remember, during pandemic times, the limits between work and life changed a lot, or in this case, it was reduced. The limits between what was the work life and the personal life were so close with people working from home that, of course, all the leadership style, the management way of preparing, organizing, setting priorities for what is most important in the company were putting people in the first or putting people in the center of the decisions because it was a very critical moment for the organizations to not lose their talents. And here, I'm not talking about something, from a child story, just trying to make it beautiful. It was a business decision. It was quite strategic for many companies that they put that priority. Otherwise, their talents will just move to another companies because during pandemic times, again, if you remember and reflect on the technology market, for examples, roles were opening and the teams were growing everywhere. It was a lot of opportunities for people to move here and there and find better salaries, better opportunities because the companies were increasing their business, especially in the technology industry here. And of course, it created a need for the CEOs to prioritize in their agenda to put engagement and retention in the first place. And according to a recent research published now in July 2026 from Harvard Business Review, we see that this is changing right now globally. Why? Basically, Harvard Business Review and connected with a research from Gartner, they asked more than 3,000 managers and employees in the end of 2025 and beginning of 2026 many questions really in relation to what was being more important or the most prioritized things in their leadership pipeline. And what they see, some data that I want to bring to start our discussion here is two-thirds of managers today see that their main job it's managing people, is leading the team, the people side of it. Basically, 62% feel they must protect their team and the people working with them. 45% admit that they make decisions that favor the employee and can even hurt the business. What it means? Well, basically, those managers were saying that they were taking some decisions in favor of the people, in favor of the team, even though that could be dangerous to the business itself, to the product, to the business line or business area. So basically, that was a very clear message that overall, globally, managers and leaders were prioritizing the well being of the people. And again, I'm not trying to tell you a story here that makes something be a bit of like magic in the companies. They are just being nice. It's not about that. It's again back to what was the most important thing in the time that we are living. But right now, things are of course a little bit different again. And if you look to what we've been even discussing in this podcast and the videos I created recently, we are in a different moment in the job market overall. We have people that are actually hugging their jobs because they are afraid what is happening. We have layoffs, some of them with the narrative of AI replacing people and areas. We have also layoffs related to change in the priorities for the companies. We have companies in many industries that are not going so well and whole industries that are being challenged by the moment we live. And of course, overall, the big picture in the world is also a bit chaotic. We have wars, we have conflicts, and things are showing that it's not a good moment overall. We don't see that many opportunities to change to a better job. And basically, what we see as a result for that, and What the research, what the study is showing is that performance and productivity are back on top, above engagement and retention. So, in a summary from the research and from the study, what we see is basically people first is not going to be, or is not being already, the most important thing, and performance, it's coming back as the most important thing to make decisions and to look to how the agenda of the leadership will be prioritized in the coming times, or at least the times we are living right now. The turn, or the understanding we must have here, is that maybe you are expecting this to be a bit cruel, right? Okay, you think like, okay, performance first sounds like a version of management where the team will suffer and the companies will start looking only to the numbers. But the opposite, according to the study as well, according to data, the opposite is happening. Managers who move to performance first are up to 20% more, they are more 20% more likely to deliver the result the organization expects. So basically, taking only the management perspective or the manager perspective, those who are putting performance first for the teams, they are delivering more results. Okay? But back to the concern, like what it means to the team, what it means to the people working with them. Well, the employees are reporting more satisfaction and not less. Yes, and this is also according to data, also according to thousands of interviews around the world in many different kind of industries. Why? Basically, only about half of employees say that their managers are effective in the basics of what they do. Half of employees. What it means, like half of managers are good on clear feedbacks. Half of them are good on connecting strategy to what must be done. Half of them are good on translating senior leadership needs into a team work, team breakdown of work on what must be done, which means that they were not doing the basics of what is expected from a manager. And if we connect that data from that research, from those interviews, with the overall perspective on what is happening in the market, we see that many middle management positions are being cutted right now. And who are the managers who are surviving? Who are those? Basically, the managers who understood how to do those basics and also deliver results with that. We are not saying, and the research is not saying that as well, that managers who put the numbers above the people who are working with them are just better for no reason. What we see is like the balance here being very, very important. If you are a manager right now, for example, being liked by everyone around you stopped being the best measure to decide if you are a good manager or not. And unfortunately, of course, this discussion can take many directions. I don't want to take the direction on discussing what it means to be a good person, because it doesn't matter if you are a manager or not. Being a nice person to work with are also the basics, right? So I don't want to take that approach on just being a nice person at work are also something that you do no matter if you're a manager or not. But there is a trap here that we need to be careful. And this is also mentioned in the study I want to read to you. It's called the loyalty trap, and it's real, which is basically when your affection for one person or for the team starts costing the whole team performance. What it means, you have an affection for someone, so instead of being direct on your feedbacks, on being harsh if needed for a good reason, even for the good of the person, you are protecting too much. You are protecting because you are putting the well-being of those people above the whole team necessity. And sometimes, or majority of the times, according to the data, this is going to backfire you. The employees reported a better satisfaction for managers who do the basics. They also mentioned that they prefer to get the clear feedbacks, the strong feedbacks, the feedback they're even saying that they are doing something wrong. They prefer that instead of having a manager that is protecting the team and protecting them at no cost. I mean, without even considering and being back to what I said on being a good manager, being a good person. They are so concerned on being liked, they are not even saying the very small things that must be said when something's wrong, when something should be stopped. And if you are this kind of manager, unfortunately, you are losing your strongness part right now, because maybe you are putting more attention on something that is not being valued by the market right now. And here I will repeat for the second or for the third time again, this is not about being a jerk at your job. It's not about putting the numbers above everything else. It's not about being harsh on people for no reason. There's a very good book. I already mentioned about this book in my newsletter that is called Radical Candor, which basically means being super candor to people, being direct if needed, but doing the job. And this is also your responsibility as a manager. So, of course, the study is not just giving the problem, they are giving some suggestion on how to improve that. And they suggest that with five fundamentals. Basically, it's critical for a manager to be good on translate the what into the how. It's crucial to know how to measure results and not the effort. Design a good workflow so people understand how and what is broken, what should change, what is not working in the team, and being able to fix that. Of course, integrate AI with responsibility, and finally, connect each person's strength to the team result. Not Notice that if you look to this list suggested by the study, there is something that is not in the list. None of those items are mentioned about being harder on people. So moving from people first to performer first has nothing to do with that, as I just said. What it basically means is that the pendulum from a management perspective is changing again, and you should be prepared for that. If you are a manager, you should understand those five fundamentals mentioned by the study, but also what it means, what are the roots of what it means to be a good manager. Not only a good colleague, not only a nice guy, but a good manager, the one who does what needs to be done. And of course, empathy, it was never the problem here. The problem is it's about when you have empathy without execution. When you have empathy just for the sake of being empathetic with your team. You need to have a good balance on what the business needs, what the market needs, what your company needs right now, your business area, and if your team, and to know how to balance that with what specific people in your team need at different moments.